Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And welcome to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Today, I would like to talk about Han Solo. We are continuing our catalog of the Star Wars characters in order of appearance. Let's talk about our favorite scoundrel, Han Solo. We first meet Han Solo 13 years before the original Star Wars film. He's on Corellia working for Lady Proxima as what's called a scrum rat, which I guess are these sort of street urchins that run scams for Lady Proxima. But we first meet him fleeing from that life with his girlfriend Kira. They get to the Corellia spaceport and are about to leave when Kira is apprehended, but Han escapes, having bribed an Imperial officer. Han, with really nowhere to go and wanting to come back to save Kira, decides to join the Imperial Academy. In the next 3 years, it would seem that Han Solo entered the Flight Academy, but was kicked out for having a mind of his own, in his own words, and then became a regular sort of grunt, a regular actually not even a stormtrooper, a soldier in the Imperial Army. It is then on the planet Mimban where he meets Tobias Beckett and his team, who are trying to steal an Imperial ship. However, Beckett turns the tables on Han and frames him as a deserter, after which Han is thrown in a pit and meets Chewbacca. Working together, they escape the pit, in which Chewbacca had been kept for eating disruling stormtroopers, and they escape and join up with Beckett, who's actually impressed that Han got out of that situation. They then pull a train heist on the planet Vandor, which goes terribly wrong when members of Beckett's crew are killed, and they lose the shipment because of Enfys Nest and the Cloud Riders. Han decides to go with Beckett and try to explain the situation to Beckett's boss, Dryden Voss, a high-ranking official in the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate. Try saying that 3 times fast. Han has an idea to replace the coaxium shipment they lost in the train job by going to Kessel, getting unrefined coaxium, and flying a very fast ship out of there before the coaxium explodes. Voss agrees to this and sends Kira along. Kira had been working for Voss. The details about how she got on Corellia are still vague. Han and Kira, reunited with Beckett, go and hire the services of Lando Calrissian and L337, his cantankerous droid, to fly the Millennium Falcon to Kessel. They get there, they sneak their way into the mines, stage a prison breakout, and escape with a coaxium. Through some very risky and pretty wild maneuvering, they fly through the maelstrom which surrounds Kessel, breaking the record by going through a rather dangerous trip through the Carbonbergs and other strange things hidden in the nebula, or maelstrom as Lando calls it. They then arrive at the planet Savareen, where Enfys Nest is caught up with them. It is then revealed that Enfys Nest and the Cloud Riders are not villains, but heroes fighting against the Empire. Through some crazy double-crossing and triple-crossing, Dryden Voss is killed. Beckett is killed when he was about to try to kill Han Solo. Han rescues Chewie from being taken by Beckett, and Kira leaves to report the situation, or her version of it, to protect Han, to report to Darth Maul, who is the leader of Crimson Dawn. Kira covers for Han by telling Maul a kind of a lie about how they lost the coaxium. So she leaves a heartbroken Han. Han travels to a jungle moon where he meets Lando, who had abandoned them after the trip through the maelstrom. And in a card game of Sabacc, wins the Millennium Falcon. He and Chewie then head off to Tatooine to begin work for Jabba the Hutt. Or so we assume. The next time we see them is 10 years later, in the cantina in Mos Eisley on Tatooine. Obi-Wan and Luke hire Han and Chewie to take them to Alderaan. They get to Alderaan, which has been destroyed, and are tractor beamed in by the Death Star. On the Death Star, they learned that Princess Leia, the woman who sent Luke on his quest in the first place, is being held captive by the Empire on the Death Star. Through subterfuge, they escape the Death Star, having rescued the princess, and travel to Yavin 4 to deliver the plans to the Death Star, which are contained in R2-D2, to the rebel leadership. Luke joins the pilots that are going to try to destroy the Death Star. Han, taking his reward money for rescuing the princess, leaves, believing that such a mission is suicide. A dismayed Luke and Leia proceed with their plans without Han. But Han returns at the last moment, being the type of guy he is, to help save the day, and Luke destroys the Death Star. 3 years later, Han is a captain in the Rebel Alliance on the Rebel base on Hoth. Han's planning on leaving to pay off the bounty that Jabba had put on his head for losing his cargo. But events transpire which keep Han there. Han shows that he truly is a good friend, a good hero, when he ventures out into the freezing cold to rescue a missing Luke Skywalker. This manages to keep Han around until the Empire shows up to destroy the Rebel base. Han escapes with Leia and goes through a wild, crazy chase through an asteroid field, being pursued by TIE fighters. Darth Vader wants the Millennium Falcon and Han Solo captured so that he can lure Luke to Cloud City. The Falcon arrives at Cloud City, meeting, and Han reunites with Lando Calrissian. The details of their last meeting are not clearly defined yet. Lando, unfortunately, was pressured into turning them in because his city was in jeopardy from the Empire. Han is captured and frozen in carbonite. Lando turns the tables on the Empire and joins up with our heroes and helps them try to recover Han, but it's too late. The bounty hunter Boba Fett escapes with Han Solo to turn him into Jabba the Hutt. A year later, Luke concocts a plan to rescue Han from Jabba's palace, where Han is being kept as an ornament. A very convoluted plan, to say the least. But they succeed. Han is fought out, and they're saved. And Jabba the Hutt and his minions are killed. They then leave Tatooine. Luke goes off to Dagobah to reunite with Yoda. And Han and Leia report to the Rebel Alliance fleet. Han is now a general in the Rebel Alliance. And during the briefing on the Rebel flagship, we learn that Han's duty is to infiltrate the forest moon of Endor and deactivate the shield generator, which protects the Death Star. The second Death Star, I should say, is protected by an energy field that is too powerful. Therefore, it is Han's duty to deactivate it. Han, Leia, Luke, the droids, and Chewbacca travel with the Rebel strike team to the forest moon of Endor, where, through some crazy circumstances, they are captured by the Ewoks. Han, along with the others, is about to be eaten, but Luke's use of the Force to convince the Ewoks that C-3PO is indeed a god pays off, and the Ewoks join the rebels. In fact, the Ewoks are able to tell Han that there is a secret entrance to the shield generator, which is less defended. They're able to get in. However, the Emperor was anticipating and knew that the rebels were going to make an attempt to destroy the Death Star shield generator, as he had been the one to inform, to let slip the information to lure the rebels into a trap. However, the Emperor did not count on the help of the Ewoks, and the fact that the Empire was fighting in unfamiliar territory. The Ewoks help Han, Leia, and the others break into the shield generator, where Han plants the charges that blow up the shield generator. The shield is then deactivated because of the explosion. The rebels are able to make their strike and destroy the core of the Death Star, which destroys the whole thing. Han then joins the others in celebrating their victory. 30 years later, Han has lost the Millennium Falcon and is separated from Princess Leia after their son turned to the dark side. Han is then reunited with his ship after Rey and Finn leave Jakku with the Millennium Falcon. They're able to convince Han to help them out a little bit, as the droid BB-8 is carrying a map that leads to Luke. Han takes Rey and Finn to the planet Takodana, where Han, as is usually the case, would rather run away than join the fight. All of that changes when the First Order shows up on Takodana, destroys Maz's castle, and Rey is taken captive by Kylo Ren. The sight of his son, I think, convinced Han to join the fight. The Resistance then showed up, and Han was reunited with Leia. And much to his chagrin, C-3PO. They then traveled to the Resistance headquarters on the planet Dakar, where they planned their attack on Starkiller Base. Han gets them onto the surface of Starkiller Base by approaching the planet at light speed, which is ridiculous, and helps them destroy the thermal oscillator, or plant the charges to destroy the thermal oscillator on Starkiller Base. Han then reunites with Kylo Ren and tries to convince his son to return. But Kylo, aka Ben Solo, will not be swayed and kills Han Solo. He murders his father. The thermal oscillator, however, is destroyed. Starkiller Base is destroyed. And the Resistance is triumphant. So let's talk a bit about Han Solo. Han Solo is the favorite character of a lot of people. Now, on my favorite characters list, I did not list him. Simply because he's on everybody's favorite list. I like Han a lot. Han really is in a way, the voice of the audience. He's more rational. Or, well, not exactly rational, but he certainly is more cynical and looks at everything in a more critical eye. With a more critical eye, I should say. Han is grumpy but lovable. The kind of the roguish character that many of us find so fascinating. Because those kind of characters throughout film and literature are very interesting. Han in many ways is like a gunslinger, like a cowboy from the Old West. The kind of guy who, is very much Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca. I stick my neck out for nobody, and then joins the fight. He's very American in that sense. If such a thing can be said about a Star Wars character. Harrison Ford, of course, is fantastic as Han Solo. He brings so much energy and so much life to this character. The only criticism I could make of his performance is in Return of the Jedi, he's very phoning it in. There are certain parts of the movie where he is Han Solo through and through. But there are other parts of Return of the Jedi where I just don't feel the conviction from Harrison Ford as an actor. He doesn't have a lot to do in Return of the Jedi, and I know that even he was tremendously frustrated with that when he made the film. However, that was rectified when he reappeared in The Force Awakens. Many people did not think that he would ever return, that he was done with Star Wars. But he said he very much appreciated the script and was convinced to come back because he really felt that this was a moment to shine. Harrison Ford is an actor's actor. He wants to know what his objective is, what his purpose is, and feel that his character has meaning and also likes being directed when it comes to acting. And he's expressed frustration with directors who don't direct their actors. George Lucas and Ridley Scott being some examples. Ridley Scott and Blade Runner, Harrison Ford was very frustrated with that. But all in all, he gives a fantastic performance, and I think he gives maybe his best performance in The Force Awakens, though, to be clear, his performance in The Empire Strikes Back is legendary. But it was so nice to see him return in Force Awakens and be completely committed. He had done some films prior to The Force Awakens where he really felt terribly uncommitted. All of that changed with movies such as 42 and The Force Awakens, where he really showed that he still had it. So I really appreciate what he brought to the table. I was initially opposed to the idea of his death in The Force Awakens, but the way it was handled was so brilliantly done. I think it made absolute sense in the story. Kylo Ren believes that by killing his father, he can prove himself to be worthy of the mantle of Darth Vader, which actually backfires, oddly enough. So Han Solo's death made a lot of sense in the story. Now, as for Alden Ehrenreich, who played him in Solo: A Star Wars Story, he does a good job. Now, I don't really feel that he is channeling Harrison Ford, which it can be a good thing and can be a bad thing. A good thing because he is making the character his own, but a bad thing because there is sort of a disconnect between the two characters. But, I think Alden did a great job, and I'm totally happy with what he brought to the story. And in those 10 years in between Solo and A New Hope, maybe more things happened to make Han Solo more embittered and more cynical as time went on. I think Han Solo is a fantastic character, and he is one of the greatest movie characters of all time. He embodies, when we think about the rogue, the archetypal rogue, Han Solo is that character. I, was sad to see him go, but I'm so glad what he brought to the table. And the legacy of Han Solo will continue. Han Solo is one of the most beloved characters in Star Wars. And as long as Star Wars is around, Han Solo will be forefront on our minds. My name is Brennan Maher. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And thank you for tuning in to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.